Welcome back, everybody, to 3 Point Lines here on the Parlay. I'm your host, Luca Rosano, alongside my co host, Noor, Zainab, and we are back ready to go with these Tuesday games. And looking at our Monday, we didn't do that bad. I mean, myself, I went 3-1. That Suns game, it looked too good to be true, especially with all those Jazz players out there unable to cover the numbers. So I did go 3-1, and now overall I'm 33 and 61 for 54% of my picks being correct. And I can see your little graphic. We're at the same winning percentage at this point. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Honestly, I'm gonna blame you because if it weren't for you last game and I had not picked the Suns, I would be one leg up for you here. I had 1 point in my backcourt, but actually, Luca and I, we got background information today. We were kind of bummed about our scores. We're hovering that 500 mark. What's happening? Do we even know basketball? And apparently, this is just how the game goes. Luca also covers football, so he understands that when you're having less games throughout the week, it's more incentive for the better teams to really go out and play. But when you're playing 82 games a year, you're gonna have an off night, and it's
Yeah.
gonna fall on Luca and I. So don't come out on us.
But we're still above average. This is considered above average. If we somehow get to that 57% mark, or even dare I say it's 60, we're entering very elite levels here. So keep that in mind as we are going to begin here with the first game of the night. We got the Hornets taking on the Toronto Raptors. The Raptors, I was surprised by this. They are the 3.5 point favorites in this one.
Yeah, that is kind of strange, isn't it? I'm not going to be a homer here, and I know I'm going to get flack for this, but I'm going with the Hornets. Hornets are the better, and they're actually one of the best 3 point teams in the league. And
Yeah.
what do the Raptors suck at? Defending the three. We can't defend for our lives. I genuinely believe Nick Nurse needs to have like run to the three and block that shot defense schemes going every single practice because we that's our kryptonite. We let all those threes go in no matter what happens. And this is a Raptors team that also has been struggling defensively. If you watch the Raptors in the past, you realize that if they have their defense clicking, their offense will click just based off of how their energy is being portrayed on the defensive end. But they have been sketchy. They have not been looked like themselves. They only seem to really get their game going in the fourth quarter. I don't get it. I don't understand why. If the incentive is to rest, then maybe rest off the court so your bench can come on and help you out, or just blow out the game altogether, just lose without dignity. But I don't think this is going to be a good matchup for the Raptors, especially how they've been playing recently. And the Hornets they are a decent team. They have beaten the likes of Celtics, Sixers, and the Knicks. And coming into this matchup against the Raptors, like we mentioned already, who are just not playing like themselves, especially defensively. I think defense is the biggest part for the Raptors. And if you're not going to defend that three, you're going to get rained on. So I kind of like the Charlotte Hornets here. What about you?
Yeah, I agree with you. And you mentioned them beating the Sixers and the Celtics. I think both those games were on the road. So this is a Hornets team that they've been pretty good on the road. They're a fun team to watch. They're no flash in the pan. I think they're legit. I think they're a team that you definitely got to keep an eye out for in the East. They put up a ton of points. LaMelo Ball, Rozier, those guys have been balling. They are going to be without Hayward, but they've proven to win these games even without him. So yeah, I got to go with the Hornets here. I have no confidence in the Raptors, especially coming off that last loss, because I just don't know if this team is going to show up for all 48 minutes. If they get off to another slow start in this one, or they try to play catch up in the second half, you're not going to be in for a good night against a Hornets team that is much better than the likes of a Pistons team that they lost to and a Blazers team that they just lost to. And you look at the Hornets, they're 7-3 straight up and against the spread in their last 10. So they have been a pretty safe bet. Like I said to begin, I was surprised to see the Raptors as a favorite here. I know they're at home, but they do not have home court advantage with no fans still there at Scotiabank Arena. So advantage Hornets. I do think at the very least they'll keep this game really, really close. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is another one of those Raptors games that is decided within the final minute of play. So I will take the +3.5 here. And yeah, we'll see what happens.
There's no chance it's not going to be a classic Raptor last minute, pull your teeth out, kill your hair kind of game. It's the Raptors fashion at this point. If you're not playing last minute, why are you playing? The other game of the night is going to be the Denver Nuggets versus the Detroit Pistons, where the Nuggets are -7 favorites. What do you think happens here, Luca?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to go with the upset here. Well, not straight up, but I will take the Pistons +7. I think they keep it close because you actually look at these two teams. They played the other night on Sunday, and that game was in Denver, and Denver only won that game by 6. And you look at Denver overall, only 1-4 against the spread in their last 5. And Detroit is actually 4-1 against the spread in their last 5 home games, and they're 6-3 against the spread in their last 9 games played in January. So they have had a good month, which has included a nice win against, teams like the Raptors. And Cade Cunningham has been playing well. I think they do enough here. They're going to be at home. Denver, I think they do enough just to get by, but I'm not willing to lay that 7. I think this will be a very interesting game, so I will take the points with the Pistons at home.
We are neck and neck right now. I'm actually taking the Pistons too. I think they cover because, like you mentioned, the Nuggets did beat the Pistons recently, but the Nuggets are not the Nuggets without Jokic. And if they're able to somehow limit Jokic, even if the Nuggets win, but they're able to limit him somehow, the Pistons can cover that spread. And if you look at the Pistons trajectory based off the past month, if they're playing a team, the same team, let's say twice a week in a short period of time, they either win one and they let the other lose. So they always kind of cut half between whichever team they're going to be playing against. So I think this is the turnaround here where the Nuggets won on Sunday, but the Pistons win tonight. And even if they don't win, like you mentioned, it should be a close game just because Dwayne Casey now kind of understands what their process looks like, what their defense, what their offense will look like, who he has to send to stop Jokic. And like we said, even if they don't win, it should still come down to the wire. So I think Pistons should cover this. But Jokic is the best man on the court. So there's no reason why he shouldn't be having a big night or letting his team to at least win.
Yeah, they've been winning these games, but they haven't been covering the spread, and I'm talking about the Nuggets. So we're both riding underdogs through 2 games. How about in this one? Clippers taking on the Wizards. The Wizards are 4.5 point favorites.
Kind of crazy, eh? The Wizards are one of the most healthier teams in the NBA right now. They've got everyone back together, and they're going up against a team that's completely not healthy at all. They're still missing Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, and obviously, what they're lacking on the offensive end from those two is massive. But what those two also provide on the defensive end is also huge. Paul George is already a crazy, amazing defender, and then you've got Kawhi Leonard, the claw. So when you don't have those two guys producing for you on the offensive or the defensive end, you see what happens. The Clippers are barely making the playoffs. They're barely in that contention area. They're not really the team that we thought they were. And against this Wizards team, especially them playing at home, who has their stars and their role players who understand who to give the ball to, who's available, what their team looks like, the gelling and everything is already intact. I'm going to give the edge to them here. But the Clippers also have been kind of all over the place. Anytime I think they're going to win, they lose. And if I think they're
Yeah.
going to lose, they win. So this could be one of those games as well. But on paper, I think it should be the Wizards' clean victory.
Yeah, I'm gonna go the other way
Ooh.
because the Clippers have proven, despite being shorthanded, they have been in these games, and you can credit guys like Reggie Jackson going off. And the Wizards, I just don't trust, especially when they're a favorite. And you look at their last 10 games, they're 1-9 against the spread, and only 4-6 straight up in those games. I could see them sneaking out a win here, but I do think the Clippers will do enough to keep this one close. And you look at the Wizards, their most recent game, they could not hit a damn shot. They were 35% from the field and 24% from three. And for as shorthanded as the Clippers have been, they're somehow stringing together games in which they're scoring the basketball. 4 straight games with 100 plus points. So I think this could turn into a track meet. And I do think the Clippers could go into Washington and steal this one. So I will take the points plus 4.5. They have shown me enough without their star players that they can compete against any team. And I don't consider the Wizards to be a good team anymore. I mean, they're middle of the pack, probably below average at this point. They have fallen off drastically, and we can see good stretches from them, but then they can fall apart too. And a prime example of that was Friday against the Raptors. It looked like they were going to run down their throat, but then second half happened and the Wizards just couldn't get a bucket. But Bradley Beal is back, so we'll see if he has a big game. But I still will side with the Clippers here.
Let's see what happens. Now we have the Pelicans and the 76ers, where the Sixers are favored by 8 points.
All right, this one's tough.
Yeah, it's kind of tricky, eh?
All right, I might regret this. I'm going to lay the 8 with the Sixers only because the Pelicans are on the second night of a back-to-back, and I don't like betting on teams when they're on the second night of a back-to-back. I think this one could get ugly. The Sixers, for the most part, have been a pretty safe bet at home, but then they did blow that game against the Clippers when they were up pretty big at home. So I'm hoping this time around the Sixers are able to build a big time lead and they do not let the Pelicans come back. So I will lay the 8. I think Embiid's going to have a massive day inside. I don't think they're going to be able to stop him. And I look for his supporting cast to just hit a ton of threes. He's going to track double teams. So kick it to your teammate and just, let the Pelicans be in for a long night. So I will take the Sixers here -8.
Yeah, I think Pelicans will be without Josh Hart and Brandon Ingram, and the Sixers might also not have Seth Curry, but that shouldn't stop them from being the main characters of this game. You mentioned numbers. I got some numbers for you too. Pelicans are 6-15 against the spread on the road, and they failed to cover 4 of their last 5 games when they're playing on back-to-backs.
There you go.
And I'm a woman of patterns, so I don't know. That kind of sounds good to me. I think this is something that they could probably just sit back on, especially when you have Embiid on the other side. He's like you mentioned, he will have a massive night, and I'll be kind of interesting to see who's able to stop him, what they're able to do. But just based off of who the Pelicans have available when it comes to offense and what what Philly has, I just don't think the Pelicans would be able to meet Philly along the way, and their history kind of speaks for itself too. So I'm gonna lay the spread with Philly here too. I don't like the big spreads, but I think this is the one where something could happen.
Yeah, I like that stat about back-to-backs. That plays into what I was thinking. So I like it. I feel
Yeah,
good about
exactly.
this
It
one.
helps you out there.
All right, Lakers, Nets. This is going to be the game of the night, at least on paper. -2.5. The Lakers are favorites here, and they can be expecting the return of good old Anthony Davis.
They'll have Anthony Davis back, and the Nets are not going to have Kyrie Irving because it's illegal for him to play in New York. And they also won't have KD because he's injured. So right now it's going to be a massive Harden show. And the Lakers have been playing kind of well recently. They did have that slump. They not really a slump. They were really definitely struggling from the beginning of the season, but the way that this year has started off for them has been kind of decent. They just having Stanley Johnson there who can kind of anchor that defense for them and keep people busy as much as he could. And then if they're able to add AD back in that lineup, that should be a pretty clean victory, I would say, for the Lakers, right? Like if they don't win this, that's kind of sad. You've got LeBron on the court, you've got Russell Westbrook, you have AD coming back now, and their main problem was defense because they weren't really able to defend the way that they should be. The offense had no problem. They could get those shots up no matter what, but their defense was lacking, and that's what I think would really come together once AD is back. And if you don't have KD, if you don't have Kyrie on your team, and it's just the beard, good luck. And the beard already involved in rumors too. I don't know how that's going to pan out for him on the court if he's going to be heading to Philly sometime soon. So let's see what happens. But I do really like the Lakers here. I think they should take this. And if they don't, trade someone. I don't know. What about you?
Yeah, I'm not drinking the Lakers Kool-Aid here. I know AD is back, and that's a nice addition for them because they could desperately use them. But let's remember, they're only 13-14 with AD to begin the season. So this wasn't a team that was blowing teams out or looking like a championship contender. They still have a ton of problems, and I don't think AD coming back is going to solve everything. And you look at the Nets, they are going to be without, like you said, Kyrie and KD, but they were without both those players on Christmas Day. And the Nets did go into at that time Staples Center and beat the Lakers thanks to James Harden stepping up and Patty Mills. He and Mills combined for 70 points that game. So James Harden, I find when he is the lone man out there and he goes up against a good team, I'll use the word good loosely here to describe the Lakers, he does step up. And he does get motivated for whatever reason to show people that he can still be Rockets James Harden. So I do like him to have a big game tonight. And I do think even though AD is going to be playing, there's got to be minutes restriction on him. The Lakers are not going to play him 30 plus minutes. I'd be surprised to see him get more than 20 in this one. So I will take the Nets here. I think they will sweep the season series. And yeah, I will take them here +2.5.
That's your best bet of the night, eh? That's a bet. That's a good one.
We'll
Going
see.
against the Lakers
I'm
here on
feeling
the
good about
spread.
it.
Ooh.
I mean, even in that game against Orlando, I know they won that game, but looking at it in the first half, I think they were
Yeah.
down. And that's the worst team in the NBA. So I feel good about it, but we'll see. We'll see if the Lakers can turn the tide.
We'll see what happens tonight. It's a big game in the NBA, followed by Sacramento Kings and the Boston Celtics, where the Celtics are -8.5 favorites.
Yeah, I can understand why, because De'Aaron Fox is questionable.
Yeah.
So if he doesn't go, that's big. But I'm going to take the Kings here plus the points. I have not fared well when I do trust the Celtics team at home in similar situations, laying the points with them. So I'm going to go with the Kings, who have kept their last 3 games close. They've lost those games, but they've kept them close. They've lost by under 8.5 points. So I look for Halliburton and ex-Raptor Terrence Davis to have a big game tonight. Davis did have a nice game last time out with Fox out. So I do think he's going to continue scoring the basketball here. We know he can be very streaky, and when he is on, he can go off. So I do like the Kings to make this one interesting. I still do think the Celtics win, but 8.5, too much for me to lay. I'm going with Sacramento.
Yeah, honestly, I think I was down the same route too until I heard about Darren Fox going down. And I don't really believe in the Celtics offense. I don't think the Celtics, they do have the offensive pieces, but I just don't think they're able to contribute the way they're supposed to. Or maybe the ball movement is just not there to make sure that each guy gets a fair shot every single night, as opposed to making sure it's just a JT or JB show. But with that being said, I do think they could cover this one just because Darren Fox is out. And if you're putting a bad defense against a bad offense, I'm going to give the edge to the bad offense and say that maybe that's what they need. Maybe that's how they cover it. I do think JT should have a pretty decent night without going against the Kings because it is just the Kings right now. But Darren Fox, not having that guy on your team who's able to be really the main guy to produce offensive shots for you, that is where I think they're going to hurt. So I'm not really sure who can come up and be the next man up to really be that production for them. And that's why I kind of think the Celtics could lay the spread here. They could take this, but it's the Celtics. So you never really know what happens with them.
Yeah, wow, I'm surprised.
I know, I feel
I
bad. I
can
feel kind of dirty picking the Celtics
Yeah.
like that.
I cannot trust the Celtics, that's for sure. All right, next game, we got Spurs -5 on the road against the Rockets.
Yeah, the tables have kind of turned here, eh? Where the Rockets are winning right now and the Spurs are losing. Each team has kind of just traded spots and who's going to have a better and tougher year once the year started. The Rockets just faced the Warriors and they lost that by a last second buzzer beater by Curry, and they were laying the spread pretty hard on that one too. So they ended up winning that one. And Houston has won what, like 3 of their last 5. For some reason, I think even if they don't win, they should comfortably cover that spread. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go with the Rockets just based off of their latest pattern right now. What about you?
Yeah, I like the Rockets tonight, and they're 4-1 against the spread in their last 5. And yeah, the Spurs have just fallen, and they're not getting back up. They're completely out of this thing. Whereas the Rockets, they've also looked like a mess, but they have strung together some decent basketball. And like you said, in that game against the Rockets, I think I did take them that night. They almost won that game outright, and you're going up against one of the best teams. I know Clay and Draymond weren't playing, but still, that's impressive. At Golden State, where they are the one of the best home teams in all of the NBA. That says a lot. So yeah, I like the Rockets in this spot, and the Spurs, they are not it right now. They're 2-3 straight up and against the spread in their last 5 games, and only 3-7 against the spread in their last 10. So I'm even surprised they're favorites here, being on the road, going to Houston. I'm
That's
taking
kind of what
Houston
I
plus
was
5.
made
Yeah,
no
it
sense.
doesn't make
I
sense.
was like, is this happening in San Antonio? No, right? So why is the spread so weird in Houston? But that's the NBA for you. And speaking of Golden State, we have another game of the night tonight. I think it's another game of the night tonight too. The
Yeah.
Dallas Mavericks and the Golden State Warriors, where the Warriors are -3.5 favorites. What's
Yeah,
your
this one's gonna be good. So Warriors gonna be without Green again, which is huge. Wiseman gonna be out, Iguodala out, and Klay Thompson questionable. So I gotta go with Dallas here. The Warriors have not looked like the same Warriors, and they have not been able to win without Draymond Green. Can we start talking about how big he is for that team? He's that anchor on both ends. Steph Curry plays better. The offense flows better. The defense is so much better. They need Draymond Green healthy and out there. And we know how big of an impact he is for the Warriors. I mean, even going back historically, when LeBron and the Cavs came back, it was because Green was suspended. He was out. He's a huge part of that Warriors team. We get fascinated by Clay and Curry. We forget what he does on the court. And you look at Dallas, they've won 8 of their last 10 games, and the Warriors only 5-5 in their last 10. So they're playing 500 mediocre basketball without Green. And Curry has been in a terrible slump. The Warriors have had the 25th worst offense with Green out. Like, it's crazy how much they've fallen since Green has missed a ton of time. So as long as he's out, I just can't trust the Warriors. I can't believe I'm saying those words. And I know Curry can break out of his slump whenever because he is Stephen Curry. He could drop probably 40 tonight if he wanted to. But I'm going based on the numbers. I'm going based on the recent play. It's been about a month now that the Warriors have not looked like themselves, and Curry has not looked like himself. So I will go with the hot Mavs, who have been winning games lately. So plus 3.5, give me Dallas.
And no one will hold you to it. That's the world we're living in right now. Like you mentioned about Green, I think we as Raptor fans can appreciate that kind of guy because we saw that in Kyle Lowry. That's someone you need on the court at all times, and you won't see what they do on the court get translated on the scoreboard. It's not always going to show up because what they're doing, you got to have eyes to watch and see how that really impacts the game. He is their Lord and Savior. He is their defensive anchor. He's their ball handler. He makes spacing happen. He's the IQ that the Warriors have relied on for how many years. And he's the guy who allows Steph and Clay to open up, not just by being that mere threat on the floor, but because he has that IQ and he understands how to make the best players on his team elevate their game to an even better level. Without him, pretty clear why they're not winning. Without him, it makes sense why they're not able to pull through with all these games. And you mentioned with Curry has just turned his arm off until further notice. We don't know when he's going to be shooting again, but it's going to be a while. And Clay, he might not be here for this, but he's still figuring his stuff out. He's still going to be back in the lineup. He's still going to be, gelling, being off for 2 years. That takes a massive impact on who you are as a player and your confidence and how you translate that on the court against, on a team like the Warriors. And then we mentioned the Mavericks. I think this is kind of like the best matchup for the Mavericks right now if you don't have Draymond Green there. If you don't have Draymond Green there to move the ball around or to be there as the defensive anchor, Mavs are going to have the best tonight. They're going to have so much fun with that team. Luca is already red hot, and Luca is the guy who not only is taking every single shot, but he creates those shots too. He creates plays for himself and for his teams. And Porzingis is on fire right now. This Mavs team is slowly creeping up in the standings, and I think they're putting the rest of the Western Conference on notice at this moment. So I'm gonna go with the Mavs here too, and I think it might not even be a close game.
Wow.
It might even be, it might be a non nail biter featuring Curry. So we'll see how that goes, but I think it's gonna be a fun game regardless.
Yeah, Dallas's defense too has played really well, so they're gonna make Curry's night more difficult in this one, that's for sure. And then the final game of the night, we got the T Wolves 3-point favorites against the Portland Trailblazers.
I know everyone's saying that the Blazers are, it's weird that they're winning right now, blah, blah, blah. But I think we spoke about this last time too. I found that whenever Dame was on the court, he just kind of stalls the offense. He's waiting to get his one-on-one, or he's waiting to get doubled or something, where the rest of his players are just kind of standing there watching him, figuring out, okay, well, he's going to shoot or he's going to pass me the ball, right? But with him out and with CJ in, there's a lot more ball movement. There's no more people are waiting for him to take their shot, but it's more so they're waiting for their shot and their attempt to go through. And Norm's going to be back for this one too. So I think they're going to have that offensive and that spacing on their side. I do like the Wolves here too. I think Wolves are one of the better teams in the Western Conference right now who are also getting better. But if they're not going to have Edwards tonight, I find that a little bit harder for them to keep up. But I also just think that this is a Blazers team that no one is taking seriously right now, but I think they could take this win against the Wolves, even if Edwards is playing, honestly. What about you?
Yeah, I feel like we have the same picks tonight, so I don't know if you're copying me or I'm copying you or what's
Sorry
going
about
on,
this.
but I got the Blazers as well. I didn't realize how well the Blazers were playing without Dame until I actually looked at it. They're 7-4 without him,
Yeah,
and that's also against the spread. So they have not only won games, but they have kept games close. It's incredible. You got to credit guys like Simons stepping in, and
yeah.
McCollum's been doing well as well, and Nurkic has been a great presence inside. And I think let's not underestimate Nurkic here. I know Towns has been a beast for the Wolves, but Nurkic can do some things against Towns. So I look at that matchup as being one of the best matchups tonight. And the Blazers have been a lot more disciplined defensively too.
Yeah.
They're so overall coming into this one or coming into the last stretch of games, they were 29th in the league in defensive rating. But over the last 11, 17th. So they have been a much better defensive team with Dame. So I don't know what is going on, but the defense is looking better. The offense is looking better, like you just said, with the spacing. This Blazers team might have something here. So I do think they will cover the number. I would not be surprised if they even win this game. And the Blazers are 4-1 against the spread and straight up in their last 5. I think they keep it going here. I think they get a nice win against Minnesota. So I will take the 3 points.
Let's see if ex-Raptor Norman Powell can get the victory for both of us tonight. Well, that's it for our show today. Thank you so much, Luca, for joining me. I'm Noor Zainab. We just broke down all the games for you today. Let us know what you think. Let us know if we're doing a good job. And let's hope that we make it to that 57% sweet spot sometime soon. Thanks so much. Take care. Have a good one.